stops because they cannot carry a full load of fuel because of this stuck-open valve. So Mark Blundell having his best run so far. We will see.
All right, thanks very much. Parker Johnstone brings the car up to speed. The green flag waves. We are back under green conditions. 4 cars running nose to tail as we restart on lap 184. We have spent a total of 64 laps under caution today here at Michigan.
There we see positions 1, 2, 3, and 4 in our picture frame right now.
Parker Johnstone on the left of your screen, and Jimmy Vasser, followed by Mark Blundell and Greg Moore. There is Parker. Where's the nose on that car? They had to replace the nose after he was involved in that crash that brought out the red flag before this race ever got underway. That's a fresh part. They slapped some decals on it, and away he went. There is Jimmy Vasser. He's gotten that car loosened up just a little bit after the last pit stop. There is Mark Blundell, having by far his best race as an IndyCar driver. Of course, it is only his 4th start following injuries suffered in the race at Rio de Janeiro earlier this year. His best finish thus far, 17th in the season opener at the Dade County Homestead Motorsports Complex near Miami, Florida.
And his teammates actually currently running 5th, so Pac West having a great day, 3rd and 5th so far, with about 75 laps left to go. And a little wiggle we saw coming out of Gugelmin.
I think there's a bit of a bump coming off that corner because I've seen cars wiggle there before. Vasser on the left, followed by Blundell.
Got Honda power plant 1st and 2nd, Ford XB in 3rd, Mercedes in 4th, and another XB in 5th. Surprisingly, XBs, no XDs to be seen.
Right, the XD being the later iteration of the Ford 2.65-liter turbocharged V8 for IndyCar competition. Incredible bits of technology. These engines built to such fine tolerances that they use few, if any, gaskets in them anymore. As many as 4,000 parts, 3 times as many as you'll find in your street car engine. Capable of extraordinary things, revving to maybe 14,000 revs, although not here in a 500-mile race. Tremendous horsepower from methanol, a renewable resource used as fuel in IndyCar. Now Johnstone has Vasser just up his gearbox. Vasser goes high and then drops back.
We've seen this a little bit earlier today, that the high line is not what Jimmy seems to like. He likes to be able to go a little bit lower. That cost him a little bit of speed. Coming off of turn 2, Blundell had a look on the inside.
The first time this year that Mark Blundell has really had an opportunity to come to grips with racing at the sharp end of the grid.
Doing just a great job, though. Think about the time that he spent in the car, not a whole lot compared to how much testing these other guys have done. Maybe not so much so with Parker Johnstone, as they've had a rough start at the beginning of the season.
And Blundell
sneaks underneath Vasser. What a nice move right down to the line, going through turns 1 and 2. Probably a little bit surprising.
I was a bit surprised because Vasser was able to get up alongside Johnstone but could never complete the pass. And I guess it wasn't because Johnstone was getting quicker, but because Vasser was getting out of it. You saw he bobbled just that moment, and Blundell was there to jump all over him and take 2nd place away. Great drive from Mark Blundell.
The Pac West guys have certainly had a bit of a rough start to the season also, so they're certainly probably just loving this, especially after Mark's accident back in Rio, where both he and I ended up getting hurt.
The order behind these: Vasser runs 3rd, Moore 4th, Gugelmin 5th, and Ribeiro, Herta, Christian Fittipaldi, Eddie Lawson, and Roberto Moreno. Fittipaldi, Lawson, and Moreno all 1 lap down. Here's Jan Bikas with more on Jimmy Vasser.
As far as what's happening with Jimmy Vasser, remember that before, the time that he came in and put on more downforce on the car was because it did not work well in traffic. So when Blundell came up and took the air away from him, that's why he dropped back so quickly. At the moment, his car runs fast, but he struggles in traffic.
The other Pac West car is on the move. That's Mauricio Gugelmin on the right, Greg Moore on the left. Moore is in 4th. Gugelmin trying to get around him. Ticking off the laps, 60 remaining in the inaugural running of the US 500. The driver and car owner from the winning team will get their names inscribed on the 3-foot solid silver Vanderbilt Cup. And the winning driver will pick up a check for a minimum of $1 million. If Jimmy Vasser is the man to pick up that check, they can add 45 grand to the end of it, because he'll pick up the rollover Marlboro pole bonus for winning the race from the pole. And keep in mind, there are also contingency bonuses in here. There is lap money to be taken into account. The winners, in fact, all of the top finishers in this race are coming into a tremendous payday at the inaugural US 500. Now, once again, Gugelmin taking the low line as he looks at the back of Greg Moore's Reynard.
You know, when you think about this, we're around 200 laps. What a competitive race. The first guys, 1st to 6th, they're all covered by about 3 seconds. Some great racing here, high and low, people trying each other, getting drafts.
And what concentration the drivers have had to maintain all day. We had the big crash that brought out the red flag, 9 separate interruptions for yellow flags, having to learn all the new pit rules, and yet everyone doing a tremendous job. We expected attrition. It hasn't really been as bad as I expected it might be. 11 cars out of the race among the 27 starters, if you include Adrian Fernandez, who never really started the race after the damage suffered to his car in the red flag crash. 16 cars remain on the track.
It's quite impressive, especially when you think that we're going 500 miles. And we've seen some great racing so far. As we look at Greg Moore, who started 17th, who's already finding himself up to 4th, who's been in the hunt all day, just doing a great job. Probably just feeling his way after that 360-degree spin that he did coming off of turn 2.
Let's not forget that. Greg Moore's day has been punctuated with a bit of excitement. Through turns 3 and 4. A look once again at Blundell with Vasser behind him. Ooh, Vasser closing up. Goes underneath with authority.
A nice run off the D center section of the track. Going into turn 1. A nice draft. Timed it perfectly. Dropped down. Slid right underneath and carried on through.
Take another look at these passing maneuvers. Keep in mind, all of this going on at tremendous speeds, 225 to 230 miles per hour. This was Blundell taking the position from Vasser as Vasser came up on Parker Johnstone.
See, Blundell's running the high line, carrying speed and momentum, cuts down low, and then he's going to take the air away from Jimmy as he slices up in front of him going down the back straight.
Jan Beekes.
Part of what you're seeing out on the racetrack is some people have stayed in 6th gear and other cars have gone to 5th gear. I can just update you on my half of the pit lane as far as the top runners. Parker Johnstone in 6th gear. Jimmy Vasser in 6th gear, as well as Andre Ribeiro. They will not put it down into 5th, which is the one that brings the revs up and they can really crank it. They will not do that till the very end. Mark Blundell, on the other hand, will have to check on that one as he's on the other extreme end of the pits.
All right, thank you, Jan. Vasser and Blundell continue their battle over 2nd place. Now Vasser opening up a bit of a gap over the Englishman. Meanwhile, Parker Johnstone not far away. James Allen can add to this.
Well, Jan, you raised the question. The answer's very simple. Mark Blundell using 6th gear as well. Back to you.
All right, thank you, James. Parker Johnstone holds the fastest ever race lap in American competition. In fact, in world competition, 231.659 miles an hour. Set of the Marlboro 500 here at Michigan last year. Right now, he has the lead. Jimmy Vasser closing up just slightly. And now slower traffic. Hiro Matsushita. Parker Johnstone tried to use him to scrape Jimmy Vasser off his tail, but in fact, Vasser gets a run at him, gets up on the high line.
Parker got caught out in that one. Matsushita up in the racing line, going way too slow. Couldn't run the normal line coming off of 4. Had to drop down low, cut the RPMs.
And look at Blundell run up. I wonder if Parker Johnstone has a problem.
Well, just probably lost a little bit of momentum. As we're approaching lap 200, the last time we had a pit stop was on lap 163, so we've got to be entering into our fuel window now as we approach 198 to about 205. So very shortly, people are going to be coming in for what looks to be green pit stops under a green condition.
And what a way to approach the climax of this inaugural US 500, to make the last pit stop under green the last stop of the day. There's Christian Fittipaldi in the pits for what looks like an extended stop. 7 cars on the lead lap. Vasser, Johnstone, Blundell, Moore, Ribeiro, Gugelmin, and Herta. Marty Reed.
Yeah, guys, we just passed the 200 lap mark. Keep number 213 in your mind. The longest fuel run that Parker Johnstone's been able to make has been 37 laps. So the magic number for them is they have to get to lap 210. So as of now, that's what they're hoping for.
Andre Ribeiro and Greg Moore side by side, dicing over 4th position. Well, you have got to be impressed with this new generation of IndyCar drivers. Greg Moore, perhaps the youngest man out there, absolutely unflappable.
He's been doing a great job today. Had a little bit of luck on his side when he went streaming through that big puff of smoke from the blown engine and just about scraped wheels with Christian Fittipaldi.
It was one of the many adventures for Greg Moore today. Now Ribeiro down low, trying to get a run at him on the backstretch.
Should get a good slipstream here and slip underneath and going into 3.
And the Brazilian takes 4th place, dropping the Canadian back to 5th. Greg Moore still looking for that first win. Well, still looking in his first season in IndyCar racing. It will come soon. Ribeiro has won at Rio de Janeiro earlier this year. Parker Johnstone has never won. He finished 2nd at Long Beach this year, behind Jimmy Vasser.
A very emotional 2nd place that was, not only for Parker but for the whole team. And if he was to win here today, it would be a great lift for that Motorola team, who has struggled, like we talked about just a little bit earlier in this season.
That's a good look at Greg Moore, who swept the table, or at least virtually did, in Indy Lights competition a year ago, winning 10 races, as I recall, running away with the championship. Absolutely bulletproof on the racetrack, virtually everywhere the series went. There is Jimmy Vasser, the race leader, with the possibility of adding $45,000 to the race winner's $1 million minimum. Keep in mind, the series champion on the PPG IndyCar World Series picks up $1 million for the championship. Jimmy Vasser could earn that in one day here at Michigan.
Vasser, who's leading the points, is on his way to maybe collecting a $2 million as the points leader towards the end of the season. We just have a high total of income for the year, probably more than he's made so far in all the other years combined.
We are down to 15 cars. Reports from the pits, Stefan Johansson has suffered engine failure on his car. That rear wing on the car twitching under the tremendous loads, trying to produce downforce, coming up behind one of the Penske cars. Now you see the Ganassi crew in the pits, waiting for their man Jimmy Vasser. This is the all-important final pit stop as he comes up behind Paul Tracy. Now he slows to make his pit entrance. A green flag stop coming. Ooh, Parker Johnstone going by at a tremendous clip. Here comes the race leader. Parker Johnstone takes the race lead as Vasser pits under green, and Jan Bikus is there to greet him.
At the moment, he has to keep his finger on the button, which will keep his car below. He locks the brakes up. He can't. Oh, man. For a moment, he thought that he wouldn't be able to stop on the marks, but he does bring it to a stop here. They're going for all 4 tires. They're not going to make a change. Remember that the fuel takes longer to flow at this particular point of time. They're waiting for the fuel. The tires are on. They have to wait. Now Jimmy Vasser is underway, lights him up, and this will be the last time we'll see him. 15.3 seconds.
You saw Mark Blundell go by, and there's Parker Johnstone. Could he be out of fuel?
Could be very, very close. We haven't seen a puff of smoke or anything come from the back of the car, but we talked about the last time that he was in the pit, was back in lap 163, maybe just trying to stretch it a bit too far.
Down to Marty Reed.
Oh, guys, these guys are just heartbroken. He ran out of fuel in turn number 3. That needed lap 213. They came nowhere near it, lap 208, and their chance of victory is just gone away.
Oh, what a horrible break for this modestly budgeted team. He got so close to Jimmy Vasser. I thought for a minute Parker Johnstone might have been thinking about pitting along with Vasser, but just closed up too quickly. The visor is up, and you can see that helpless expression in the eyes of Parker Johnstone. Jan Bikus.
There was some radio communication with Parker Johnstone under the last yellow. Parker called in and said, I think we need to save fuel. Should I be doing some drafting? They said, Parker, don't worry about that. Let us figure out the fuel. They said, you drive the car. We'll work on the fuel strategy. Sounds like Parker should have really listened to his own advice. Let's get down pit road.
You pulls up behind the safety vehicle. Let's get down to James Allen.
Well, the story of Pac West, as we said before, is a story of great teamwork, great pit stops. They came in, Blundell looked very relaxed, took on fuel, and now with this Johnstone incident, they thought with the yellow flag initially that they would take P1, but now they've decided they're going to come back and they're going to risk it. They're going to put some more fuel in, and we'll update you on what that strategy will mean.
Our 10th yellow flag of the day waves down to Marty Reed.
Guys, this could be the biggest break of the day for Andre Ribeiro. They now will be able to make this in one more